Cool. So, hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Eric Stewart from Fishing Fanatics, and today I got an awesome guest, JT Thompkins, who is 21 years old, professional angler. He is a Bassmaster Classic qualifier, youngest Open champion, and then second youngest to ever do it on the Toyota Series champion. So, how you doing, Jordan?
I'm doing pretty good. Just happy to be here.
They're happy to have you here, man. So, young gun in it, just kind of moving things around. I always like asking people how they got into fishing in the first place. Like, who are some of those people that took them out for their first time going and eventually led them to this career?
Yeah, it's always been my dad. Like, he was the first one to carry me, and then I grew up fishing with him basically all the way through. Then I watched him fish the tour for a few years, and then it kind of just kept progressing, and now we both fish side by side in the Bassmaster Opens along with my cousin. So now it's just slowly progressed over my years to get to where I'm at now.
Absolutely. So, your dad got you into it, and do you guys fish tournaments together at all, or?
Not anymore. We only fish the opens right now, and we just don't have enough time to fish around local tournaments. But back in the day, we used to fish local tournaments like low country stuff like that. And we were actually the first people to ever win the points race 3 years in a row. Back when I was like 7, 8, 9,
Oh,
and and then he fished the tour for a few years, and that's kind of how we got started. Was just fishing little local tournaments, and it just kept progressing and progressing and progressing all the way up until fishing professional.
dad's fishing with you, you're doing all that kind of stuff. And now moving on to your professional career, where I'm going to start with the Toyota Series, and then we're going to end up with the Open. But you were the second youngest person to ever win a Toyota Series championship on the Harris chain. Tell me a little bit about that and what your thought process was going into that tournament.
Yeah, basically, I actually had a Bass Open I think it was 2 weeks before. I had a Bass Open at the Harris Chain, and I never really fished Florida a ton. I went to Okeechobee a few times, during December and stuff with my family as like a vacation type deal, but I wasn't very knowledgeable, and I ended up not making a great decision and making a super, super long run, and it cost me in my Bass Open. I almost finished dead last. So I decided, instead of just going home, I'm just going to stick it out, and I'm going to practice every single day leading up until the Toyota Series. So I think I practiced 15 or 16 days straight, and I scanned the entire Harris chain, and I found a bunch of little sweet spots that I could guarantee catch, like, some threes plus. And then I found one mega school that I caught my day one weight on, and that's kind of how it went. And it worked out. Like, it worked out exactly how I thought it would. I actually thought I was going to have a little bit better tournament, but I ended up having a lot more people pull in on me than I thought I would on day two. But luckily, I had enough stuff in other lakes that I can go catch plenty of 3-pounders off of to pull me through. So,
Damn. So you just said, "Screw it. I'll just stay there and just fish it
mhm.
until I kind of figure it out." And you eventually did, obviously.
Yeah, it was. I knew I had something figured out during the Bass Open, but I made a long run and kind of swung for the fences. In that tournament, I ran all the way to Griffin, and I had a really big school of fish there. I just couldn't get them to bite. My co-angler, I think he had 12 pounds with 3 fish one day, and then had another co-angler catch them again. I just had poor execution in the front of the boat, missed fish. But but yeah, that kind of stung, so it pushed me to work really hard and do good in the next one, and that's kind of what I did.
I love it. I love it. And then, like, when you first started tournament fishing, right? And
Hmm.
kind of first getting into it, and you see these guys, big names. And I've talked to other professional bass fishermen about this. Like, dude, you look over to your right, and it's like Mike Iaconelli or, any of these big tournament guys who's been doing it for years. What does that feel like for, like, when you were first starting out to be fishing against these guys?
Yeah, I thought I would always be nervous and kind of like scared, but it actually gives you the utmost confidence ever because you've worked your entire life to get to one place, and when you get next to those guys, that's the symbol of being in the right place. So whenever I was at the Classic, and you'd be walking out of your hotel room or going going to lunch, and you'd see like these legends, or go to meetings, you see all these legends. It was like, wow, I actually, all these things I've been wanting to do my entire life, and like my dream is, I've done it. And then
Yeah, that's
then you just gotta like take advantage of the dream that you've had your entire life and do the best you can with it. And when you see those guys, it kind of gives you the utmost confidence that I deserve to be here, that I belong. So it's a pretty surreal feeling that I'm really excited to get back to.
Yeah, that's kind of a cool way to look at it. Because for me personally, I'd be nervous as anything. I'd be shaking. I'd be like, "Oh Jesus! Like I got to go get up against these guys and go fishing." But it's interesting to kind of spin that and be like, you know what? I am doing something right. I am fishing against the best in the world, and you know what? I'm here. I am the best. I'm one of the best in the world. So you just kind of run with that.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, you're always gonna be nervous, but like it's hard to tell the difference between nervous and excitement. And I feel like a lot of people when they think they're nervous, they're just excited, and that's just the feeling that you're supposed to get whenever all that hard work is paid off, and you get to like reminisce in it. So I don't know. I could be nervous. I mean, I felt nervous about a lot of things, but usually it's more of like a sick feeling, like right before a test. I'm really nervous. I'm gonna bomb or somewhat scared, and I never had that feeling. I more or less had the feeling of I'm here. I've done it. It's like a breath of fresh air, but at the same time, you're just getting started. It's hard to explain, but that's just how I felt with it. It just wasn't the same feeling I always got when I was scared or nervous.
Business owners and marketing professionals in the Philly area, Bad Rhino takes the overwhelm out of digital marketing. With tailored digital marketing services, from social media management to SEO and PPC advertising, our expert team navigates the complexities of the digital ad space for your business. Let Bad Rhino lead you to success. Visit badrhinoinc.com and let's take your business to new heights. Bad Rhino, we do digital marketing so you don't have to.
So Jordan, you brought up tests, and it brings me to my next question here about like, you know, you're a young dude fishing in high school, fishing in college. How do you carve out time in that schedule to go travel and do these different tournaments?
I went to a little private school in South Carolina, and I had a really good principal. His name was Mr. Rowland, and he allowed me to. He didn't give me any slack. Like it was a very high end like the academics at our school was very high level. Like I think his AP classes were our base classes. So it was very difficult, but he allowed me to leave whenever I wanted as long as my grades stayed above all B's. So anytime I would drop below, I'd get a warning and I would get in trouble. But luckily, I was able to sustain a consistent grades while being gone. But I definitely went through a lot of adversity. You know, a lot of people didn't like it. You know, having to deal with it and having to receive homework online instead of like in person and stuff like that. So I dealt with a lot of adversity. But whenever you want to do something in life, you just got to do whatever you possibly can to make it happen. And you know, it was all on me. You know, he gave me the opportunity, and I was just going to make sure I didn't waste it. And I really appreciate him doing that for me. But it was definitely a difficult thing to do. Trying to, you know, for the week before I left, I'd be constantly going through go to all my teachers, ask what's up ahead. I'd take tests ahead of time because I most of the time I had to do everything before, so I couldn't do it while I was gone. I always had to get all the work done before I even left because he knew I probably wouldn't do it while I'm fishing, which is completely fair. So it was basically like double work for every other couple weeks because it was 7 tournaments at the time.
Yeah.
It was very difficult, but you know, it was all worth it. I learned a lot of valuable things that got me to where I am now from the tour, fishing as a co-angler. So very
I think it's
appreciative.
I think there's a lot too that's on you personally that you have to like kind of okay. I got to kind of bear down this week and do all my homework because I know what's coming up here. So there's a lot of like responsibility at a very young age. That probably set you up really well to fish professionally too, and handling interviews and even doing like something like this podcast too.
Yeah. I probably the number one thing it helped me with was because I feel like nowadays with how much information is out there, probably 75% of our game now is research, like understanding everything that's going to happen before you get there or making the best possible assumptions before you get there. And you know, certain people they don't like doing any research; they just like going through their own rhythms and doing their own thing. But I love the research side of it and understanding every single little possible thing you could possibly do. I love going back in archives of FOW and Bass and looking at all the articles from past years of when they might have had like a Bass Open or a BFL or anything, and reading the articles, kind of seeing what little things you can pick up, and then also doing a lot of video research, understanding areas of the lake and stuff like that. That way, because the number one thing in bass fishing is it's very simple if you look at it. It's staying in the best areas longer than anybody else does. That's it. If you stay in the best area for longer than everybody else does throughout an 8-hour period, you're almost going to do better than them every single time. So if you do that in practice, you stay in the best areas during practice longer than everybody else, you're probably going to have the best practice of anybody else. And the best way to do that is don't waste any time in practice fishing dead water. And the only way to do that is do research and find out what areas of the lake are dead or what patterns are dead. And I feel like going through high school and having to plan ahead during all this, made me who I am now in these Bass Opens, FLW Tour, and even the Bassmaster Classic.
Absolutely. And it is funny that you bring that up because, like, I've met people that do a ton of research and I've met people that do absolutely no research. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting because there's kind of two ways to look at it. But I know if I was in there, I would definitely be doing a ton of research on, like, Google Earth and all that kind of stuff. So that's cool. Are you in college now or?
I did not go to college. I decided against it. When I won the Toyota Series, I kind of thought, I'm already to a certain level that I don't want to possibly take a step back to college. Nothing wrong with college level, but I just don't want to go from fishing as much as I was then, being able to do it as much as I was, to having to go back to classes and, having a lot of time where I wouldn't be on the water. And I just felt like if I compromised the sponsorship, the education, and certain other opportunities that could help me in the future, if I sacrificed it to time on the water, it would either balance out or I would come out on top. And I really feel like my 2 wins wouldn't have came if I fished college. I really don't. I don't think I would have won the Toyota. I don't think I would have, went to the Bassmaster Classic. Maybe I would have. I don't know. But I just feel like what I've done now, I can look back at college and say there's a lot of ways it could have helped me with education, learning how to represent myself better, learning how to market myself better, and also you kind of get, not handed, but you get a lot of sponsors presented to you as a college angler by the college. So that's one avenue I struggle with is sponsors, and I feel like I would have been a lot better off if I would have took college, but I feel like the time on the water was probably the better thing for the way I do things.
Absolutely. How much reassurance was winning that Toyota Series in that Open?
The Toyota Series really was probably more of a confidence booster because it was the first time that it was my first year ever fishing really as a professional, or out the front of the boat, not quite a professional, but that, I bombed. I realized my mistake and I corrected the mistake. And then, I reevaluated my entire practice. I said I need to go out there and win this next one, and I did. So that gave me a ton of confidence knowing that if I put in a certain level of work everywhere I go, I can only do but so bad. The only way I do bad is if I let myself down and not work as hard as I should. So that gave me a lot.
That's fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
So you were the youngest Open champion in 2022 on the Upper Chesapeake Bay. Tell me about that whole experience and how you ended up winning that one.
Yeah, that one, research helped me a lot there, and it was a very interesting thing. I don't know. I grew up on a tidal water in the Winyah Bay my entire life, so I understood the way tides work. But I've never fished off the bank in my tidal waters. You just fish the bank. You differ the banks you fish by the tides, but that's about it. But there, everything was completely different. You had flats, which is, 5, 6, 7 square miles of just matted out grass for miles. And then you also had a river with smallmouth with rock, and then you had another river that was very flat. There was a little bit of wood here, a little bit of wood there, and it was docks, just stuff I've never seen before. But I still understood the tides, and when I started doing research there, I knew that this is a place you can make a really long run. This is a place you can find something sneaky. And I ended up, the first 2 days that got me through, before I found out really what was there around the boat ramp, I actually had this little place that where a pond or a drain drained out into the lake. And I had to it was pretty difficult to get my boat to it, but current would be funneling out of this little drain or or pond, and the fish would stack up in the mouth of it, putting their face in the current. And I was able to catch probably 3 or 4 there every day. And catching a limit there every day got you a check when we were there. And then every day I would come back to the Chesapeake or around the upper Chesapeake Bay area and fish what I did the last day for the last 2 hours, because I really thought I could win off that spot. And we had a full moon, and the tides during a full moon get all out of whack. It'll go 2 feet higher than normal or 2 feet lower than normal, or it'll be 2 hours earlier or 2 hours later, because the full moon just messes up everything. Growing up in tidal water, I knew that, but I didn't know how it affected this tidal water. It affected my tidal water completely different. Usually it drops 2 foot lower, not rises 2 foot higher. So I feel like the first 2 days, if I would have understood the tides a little better, I really would have stretched it out a lot further over that tournament. But everything happened for a reason, and the last day I finally got an understanding of the tide, and that's when I caught that big bag. Once I kind of didn't eliminate half my day trying to figure out the tides the first 2 days, and had to scramble. So, but that little bit of research on Google Earth, finding that little pond, and then also my experience from living on a tidal water, it really pushed me to do good in that tournament. And I love tidal waters. Anytime I can get a tidal water, it's my favorite. I feel very confident. I feel like I have a shot at winning, and that's just where my confidence lies, is shallow tidal water.
I like it. Making that quick adjustment too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's kind of the key that you kind of talked about. It's different body of water, kind of similar to what you're used to fishing, but not exactly it, and just being able to go in there with a plan. So speaking about plans, you got a couple upcoming open tournaments coming up.
Mm-hmm.
The one I want to focus on here, because it'd probably be closer to the launch of this episode, is the one up in St. Lawrence River. I was checking out your Facebook profile, saw that you ran into some big fish up there for sure. So tell me a little bit about the preparation for that one.
Yeah, that is probably my number one most prepped for lake, because there's no tournament. I can't think of another lake that pops up on a schedule more than St. Lawrence River. I think the elites have went there the last 4 out of the last 5 years, and the opens have gone there the last 3 out of the last 4 years, I think. And it's just a lake that if you learn it, it's a not a guarantee, because nothing's guaranteed in the sport. That's what I love about it so much. But it's something that when you get there, you have the utmost confidence in doing well. It's like the Johnstons. That's why I'm not going to say they're only famous because of St. Lawrence River, but the St. Lawrence River has progressed their career so much, teaching them so much about smallmouth, and then also it being such a prevalent lake that we go to every single year. So between all of that, those anglers that's why they are who they are, and that's why I wanted to spend so much time there in prep. So that's what I've done, and it's probably the event I'm looking forward to the most this year. Probably the one that I thought I could do the best in. So super excited. I can't wait to get there.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch you guys get there, and the bags that are going to be caught out there are probably going to be crazy, because I know there's some giant smallmouth out there. So
yeah,
I'll definitely be tuning in. Yeah.
My dad's had back-to-back top 10s there, and I've only fished there once as a boater. I think I finished 21st, and that was probably my favorite event, because my motor had 1,500 hours on it and was having a lot of issues that tournament. And heck, I only stayed within a couple miles of the boat, and I never went to the lake. We went out of Clayton. I never stepped foot in the lake, and I caught him out the river because my motor had issues, and I still did 21st, and my dad finished top 10. So I just can't wait till everybody gets locked in that river, because that's where I feel confident at, to be honest. So super excited for that.
And Jordan, that's kind of terrifying, isn't it, when you go out there and you're having boat problems? Because I've had boat problems when I'm fun fishing, and it's terrible. But I couldn't imagine doing this for a living, where your livelihood depends on it, and then something breaks and everything. That's got to be a terrible feeling.
Yeah, last tournament was probably the worst I've ever had for motor issues, or not motor issues. I had a couple different issues going on that I didn't quite realize. The first 2 days, I actually had some charging and battery problems that cost me my first 2 mornings of practice, all the way up until 1 o'clock. And at Wheeler Lake, I think everybody knows that lake, if you don't catch them in the first hour, you typically don't catch them. So not being out there for the morning bite was terrifying for the first 2 days. I didn't get to fish till 1 o'clock, and I had to get off the water early as well. So I only got probably 2 or 3 hours the first 2 days of practice. And then the last 2 days of practice, I ended up having motor issues. But it was actually a very simple thing. Basically, I got some rough water, and one something loosened in the motor, and it created a short. And it was nothing wrong with the motor. It was just a fluke is what it was. So I ended up I only practiced like a total of 12 hours out of the 4 days I was even there. And luckily I found enough in those 4 hours to get me an 11th place finish and miss the top 10 by an ounce. But yeah, those are things that it gives you adversity to overcome. So when stuff happens in the future, that's what these Bass Opens are for. That's what they're designed for. It's a training grounds for all anglers that hopefully you can get as much confidence and as much learning as you can before you get on the big stage, and that way you don't get there presented with a bunch of new things that you've never seen before. So that was actually, I'm kind of glad, looking back, I'm kind of glad it happened. I learned how to keep my cool, learned how to practice in other ways while I'm not on the water, and stuff like that. So overall, it ended up good. So I can't complain too much.
I love that, man. Through this entire podcast, I love your mentality about how you go about fishing. And it's kind of like the same thing. Like I remember talking with Luke Palmer on our podcast. It was like, yeah, I only kind of control the things I can control.
Mm-hmm.
That's really all you can do, right? I mean, if the fish aren't biting, they're not biting. If you're in the right spots, you kind of got to trust that process and keep going through it. And as a Sixers fan, I've heard trust the process way too much out here, but that's kind of it, man. It's good stuff. So one last thing I wanted to note here. Outside of fishing, you enjoy golf and video games.
Yeah.
So for golf, what's your handicap, and then what's your favorite video game right now?
Golf is something I didn't even start playing until I was probably 15 or 16 when we actually played par 3 with my parents a couple times because we got bored of putt-putt. So I'm pretty terrible at golf. I'm probably like not plus. I'm probably a 12 handicap or something. I shoot 85 to 79, right around there consistently.
That's pretty solid.
Yeah.
I
haven't probably played in like 6 or 7 months, but whenever I do go home, I do like to try to do it, but man, I'm such a busy schedule. And but no, I love golf. I love the competition aspect of it. And it's more of a calm sport than fishing is. It's not as wiry, it's not as go go go. It's more of a hop on a cart with your friends, no one really cares. Not a ton of money on the line. Your life is not on the line. So it's like fishing, right, but the way it used to be. The way fishing used to be for me.
Yeah, I got you. And then video games, what's your go-to game right now?
Yeah, I love just Call of Duty in general. I love anything. It has to be extreme competition for me to even enjoy it. That's everything for me is competition. So I love Call of Duty. When I was like 9 or 10 years old, my parents used to make fun of me all the time and take my games away because I had set alarms to play an hour before school started, and like in the morning I'd wake up early. I used to play competitive, like I actually used to play in tournaments and all sorts of stuff for money. When I was like 11 and 12 years old, I put my card on there. I put go buy gift cards at GameStop and put it on there and play for that. I've always been a very competitive oriented person, and whenever I couldn't fish, that's what I was competing and doing. So I love playing any video games like that.
I love it. Cool, Jordan. So let's wrap it up here. Let people know where they can find you on social media, where they can follow along with your success and your long career coming forward.
Gotcha. Well, it's on Instagram. That's my number one thing I'm using is JT Thompkins Fishing, and that's basically what it's going to be everywhere. Or Jordan Thompkins on Facebook, but it's JT Thompkins Fishing also on Facebook. And I will be starting, once I reach the elites, I'll be starting a YouTube channel, and I will be documenting all my progress on there. I haven't made it yet, but just Jordan Thompkins or JT Thompkins Fishing is going to be the two names basically you can look up at any time to find me in whatever avenue I probably pursue. So follow me there, and it'd be
cool,
awesome.
Buddy. I love it. I'll link them all in the description so people can go check you out. But good luck in the Opens moving forward. Wish you the best of luck, and hopefully at the end of this year we can do like an end of season wrap up moving down the road.
Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Cool. Appreciate it.